Take one.
Hello everyone, welcome to our ABAS program, a seasonal bonsai series. This is a class for novice bonsai artists from Two Voices of Experience, Carmen Scott and Renee Seeley. To start off, an appropriate quote from Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Carmen and I have a combined 90 years experience in this hobby of bonsai, a good portion of which has been trial and error, confusion, and frustration. So for this series, we asked ourselves what would have been most helpful 45 years ago when we were first getting started. The answer is to know where we were going and how to get there. In other words, understanding the bonsai development process. So, drawing on our experience from where we are now and where we have been, we will provide examples of this process to hopefully eliminate or minimize a lot of the pitfalls when you're getting started in bonsai. The art of bonsai is all about developing structure, the process of developing structure, from the trunk and nabari to the primary and secondary branches to the ramification of those branches. To provide insight into this process, we will work on a deciduous species and a coniferous species over a 1-year period. Each species will have 4 different stages of development, from very raw material, like cutting seedlings, to pre-bonsai, to an intermediate stage development, to a more refined tree. During the year, we will do the necessary work at the appropriate time and record for our YouTube channel. Acer burgeranum, trident maple, is going to be the deciduous species we work on, and Carmen will take that through the year. Juniperus chinensis, shimpaku, is the coniferous species, which I will work on and take through the year. We chose these species because they are commonly used for bonsai. They develop ramification easily, they have short internodes, and they make beautiful trees. They're excellent beginner material.
This very young tree is an example of the kind of things that beginners will buy and want to turn into a bonsai, but it has a long, long way to go. And where you start at the beginning is at the base, and there is not much here, not much taper. So say up to here, this is our first concern. So this is what we're going to work on for a couple of years to get this into shape to become a decent bonsai. And we're going to ignore the rest. This other tree is Renee's trident. It's about 25 years old. She has done a lot of work on it. I've helped her. And you can see that we've got roots all the way around it. Nice nabari, nice taper. And so this part is done. Okay, that's the difference.
The second step in developing our bonsai is working on the primary branches.
This tree has no primary branches. We're going to do this completely, build from either buds down here or this little branch right here. All of this is useless. So this is not in our goal at all. So nothing. This one, as you go up the tree, we've got the trunk to trunk. Here's our primary branch, nice and thick. And as we progress up the trunk, beautiful branches come out with shape to them. They slowly get smaller, and they get closer together, which is really beautiful. This is what you want, and it takes years and years to develop this. Shows great age all the way up to the top. It's still not done, but you have got this second part of it finished. So no more work on the branches. Everything else is out from there. Okay?
The third step in developing our bonsai, now that we have the trunk, nabari, and primary branches established, now we start working on ramification of those branches.
So looking on the branches of Renee's tree, you can see we have the branch coming off. Here's the first fork, and then beyond that we have a second one, a third one, a fourth one. So we have ramification going out here, and you can see the short inner nodes. So the work from now on is to slowly, just continuously work on this over time and not lose what you already have. That's one of the tricks, not to lose it, because we've got it, and you can actually make it a little bit better over time. But everything is focused on this area now.
So here we are in January, and we'll start our program with Carmen working on her trident maples.
These are our 4 trident maples we're going to use for our series throughout the year. Our first one is a very basic, it was a raffle tree. I threw it in this pot and let it grow. So nothing, there's no structure. It's very basic, and there's a lot to do from scratch on this. But let's see what we can get done in a year and what can make it look better. All right, and we have an unbelievable whip. This is all in 1 year. So however tall that is, tall. Our second tree, I got at basically like a day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, it seemed like, because we were all rushing through the room, grabbing what we could. I wanted a trident with a trunk. I grabbed this. And then when I got it home, buyer's remorse. This tree is a mess. So the roots are a mess. This branch grew out in 1 year. So it was kind of tapered and it trimmed back, and then they sold it and it looked pretty good. And then you see the bare bones in the winter, and it's just totally needs to be redone. So almost the same thing as the previous one, but I've got like 20 years of mistakes to correct on this one. This one was kind of under a bench, wasn't getting a lot of sun. The soil had washed out, so there was not very soil. It wasn't very healthy. So Renee put it in a second pot to get it through, because this was in the summer and we needed to get it through. And now that it's dormant, we can do some work on this. And I really like the look of this, but bad roots, everything needs to be reworked. We have a huge wound. So a lot to do on this one, but at least this one's farther along in the development phase. Our last one is Renee's trident maple that she's had for about 25 years. And you can see the nabari looks really nice. This part's finished. We have taper coming up. We have all the branches where they need to be. You've got ramification here. This one's going to be treated differently, because now that it's mature, we're not going to blow it out. We want to really keep things slowed down and nice and even, and keep working on the ramification and the fine changes that you need to make on this. So this is going to gets treated differently. You have to be aware of where your tree is in development for what you are going to do to it throughout the year. All right, let's start with the first one. This is our first tree, and we talked about it. There's nothing up here that we want. This is adding to the width of the thickness of it, but it's all along the trunk. And what I want is more of a taper. So we want it to bud back. There may be some buds, they're very difficult to see. So the lowest we can cut it is right there. So we are going to cut this entire thing off. Maybe. There we go. Because we didn't care about that. We're building it from here. I can see a bud there. There may be a bud over here. Every time there's a little crease, that could be a bud. So this is it. So we're going to work this back. Trident maples form extremely strong calluses, and they will swell. So what we want is a concave cut So I use this tool and try to make it as smooth as I can. A little bit more concave. All right, concave.
I have heard that if you want the trunk to be thicker, you need to just let it run. Why did you cut it off?
This is going to run. And you saw it grew this much in a year. So I have no concern about it not growing enough. It's going to grow like crazy. And that way, if this ends up being my trunk, I can wire this, say in May, but I can't do it now because it's going to grow so fast. I can't wire it. I'm just going to let it grow. And probably in May, we'll revisit it, see where it's at, maybe even cut it back again. It's a process. So see how close that internode, I have an internode there, I have an internode there that's going to form. If it leaves out, that's a branch, that's a branch, that could be a branch. And then I have a long internode. So the most I would want is this much. So that's how we build this. So here we go. And then it's going to take off and we'll go from there. But my main focus is the trunk. I'm going to repot it. I need to turn this way. Okay. I need to get it out of here. And if I had time, I would just unscrew this. And sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't work. But it hasn't been in here all that long. I didn't tie it down. Here it comes. All right. I haven't seen this yet. So this is a year's growth. That's the thing I use for my screen. And I'm going to work this down and see what I actually do have for Nabari. Because this is so young, it's not going to have huge, lumpy, bumpy, horrible things that I should have to deal with. My main concern is I cut it so I have roots going all the way around it. So if you start out like this, that means you have total control. There should not be any huge surprises when you repot this after you've done it a few times. All right, I'm looking for a line where my Nabari is going to be. I don't want roots higher up. I don't want this thing, whatever it is. I think it's kind of worked itself around. I really don't want that. I'm going to cut it off. It's never going to get better because I can't straighten it. Okay, so there we have that. Roots underneath of it are fine. So I'm going around. You can see this is too high. We're going to cut that. I think I might leave that because it's going to go down below because I don't have much underneath it. So, 2 years from now, who knows? I'll cut it off. Depends on how it grows. This is fine like that. And in here, that little guy up on top, that's too small. This is too small. And you just pull it right off. My little problem area, and of course there has to be one, is this little knob where there's nothing. There's some stuff over it. So I have roots, but I have this. Looks like a little potato. And then this, and it's sticking up. So let's cut the stick up part off first. Okay, I'm going to cut that off. So this, since I have roots above it, hey, I'm going to cut this off. And we'll see what grows. Oh, see, we have some dead right there. So I'm going to take that back. That did it. All right, let's see what it looks like. Oh, wait, one more. So these little guys, I'm just going to cut those short because they're in the way. Thank you. All right, it's from the top. So that should be okay. These hopefully will grow up, yeah, yeah. above it. And this is pretty useless too. You just kind of work your way around and see, there's nothing really there. And it will grow, but it's going to grow right out at the end. We want stuff closer in. I'm not sure about this one, but there's really not a lot underneath it. So we're going to leave that for now. And one more trip around the outside, trim everything back. Okay, pretty sad. Pretty sad little guy. But that's what we're going to deal with. So we're going to put it in another wooden box. Because we don't know where the center of this is going to be, although we now have a little bit of a curve here, which is nice, that we can build on, so it's not going to be straight up and down. And this looks huge, but you saw what I pulled out in a year. We want this to grow. We're going to fertilize it. We're going to put it in this pot and see what happens. So you won't see it for another year, but I'll probably repot it next year just because, to see what's happening. Okay. Here's our trident maple. Poor little thing, planted in a wooden box, big wooden box. We've planted it so the roots are flat. So we have this, already have a little bit of a curve going here, which is nice. So now from here to here, we'll see what happens. This is our second trident maple that has a ton of problems. And we're going to, I took it out of the pot. I've trimmed it on the bottom. So now we're like this. I have a little bit more trimming to do. I just wanted to show you, I flattened it out. This was on the base of it, cut that off. So I have lots of roots. It's pretty healthy. And my provisional front is right here. So we're going to work around there. And you'll see all of these pipe cleaners. We have to make a decision. If you look at the top of this tree, it's a mess. It's thick, ugly branches. There's wounds. It's all over the place. I need to cut it off, and I just have to decide where to cut it off. And I know there's people who are going to say, oh, you should air layer it. Look at that, and you can get a shohin. This is beyond ugly. To grow tridents and they grow so fast, you don't want to go here. It's not worth it. So I'm not going to do it, and I think you shouldn't either. All right, so back to my three choices of where I can cut this off. Cut number one would be right here. This could be my new apex. The problem is that's a pretty big cut. It's already a little bit thicker right here. We'll almost have a reverse taper going as it is. So growing it from here, that's not going to get any better. And I think we can do better. This would have to get as big as this for it to flow to the next level. You grow these out until they match the size of the trunk, and this would take a long, long time. So this one's a no. All right. My next one up, well, I would have to turn it. My front goes away. I'd have to turn it over here. This is too big to move up, and I can cut this back and I'll have something there, but it's going to be difficult, and this has to be cut off anyway. And I don't like that. We're going to not do that one. Too problematic. Okay, next one, back to the front. If I cut it here, this can be my apex right here. I've got branches around it. This one can be cut off. This one's pretty good, but I'm not sure where this is going to bud back. So the other alternative is to cut it right there. So this is my choice, this one or this one. This can become the apex. I know it's tiny, but this isn't as big of a wound. This can stay there and we'll see what happens. I can always go one more farther down. I can't go another one farther up. So we are going to use this right here and cut it there. So this one comes off. Potential apex, another one that could be an apex depending. So I'm going to leave that down like that because we're going to cut that. Are you ready?
We're ready.
No time like the present. Eek.
Okay,
All right.
here we are. We've now decided that we need a little assistance from power tools, since the hand tools were not exactly working for us.
All right, so I have to hold it.
So you have to hold it.
Eek.
Oops, let me get it in there.
Up against it.
Yeah, gotta get it up against it.
I broke another one.
Get your finger out of there.
It is. Holy moly.
Okay,
Ta-da.
there we are.
All right. Actually, so I I broke that little branch off. Bad me. But yeah, I think that's going to work just fine. And I won't cut it back really crazily. And I think that's going to work.
It almost looks like it has
All right. You want to help me work this down then? So this has to be worked down. Not like that, just even it out. And farther to the edge. It sounds like it's moaning. Okay, and then it's there. And then I can turn it the other way. I turn it sideways and go across like that just to even it out. That looks good. Whoa, okay. I can use another tool. I think that's good, man.
You can probably
I can use the carbon.
Yep.
Oh, very nice. All right, let's see if there's a little bit more I can just smooth that. And we're going to be revisiting this wound over time anyway. All right, we'll take it. Shall I sealer that you used on the, okay. I could do this. Make sure it covers. Nice and thick. Sorry, I bumped the camera. I'm also going to do that little guy, this little guy. And I'm going to be making some cuts now. So all right, there we go. And that's our apex. Now I have to decide what else I'm going to cut off of these. Obviously, this is not good news. I know I have buds there. I can cut. Is that the flat one? I could use any of these. This isn't that big. But I'm hoping I can get buds back here. This is pretty much worthless to me. So I am actually going to go here and here. And let's see what happens. This one you could cut there, but Looks like there's a bud right there. I think there's one underneath it. So we're going back to there. There's a bud right there. I'm gonna cut back. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Here we go. There's a bud. There's buds all along that.
Wait. Do you want to let that grow to heal that wound?
Yes. Renee wants to know if I want to leave this to heal the wound. I do, but at the same time, as fast as they grow, I'm going to cut that there. I'm still going to cut it. Let's see what happens. Buds. We're gonna cut it and start all over again. And then as we go out, this is going to get cut. This is going to get cut. There's buds back there. Now we're going out this way, so this has to be cut. This is really ugly. I'm going to cut that. There's buds there and there, so I can cut it there. And this. Or I could go all the way back to there. So let's do that, because this is very thick and it's not getting any taper. It's got curves, no taper. I need taper. This is pretty ugly. I could bend that, but it's easier just to start all over again. This one, same thing. It's from a nice place and I can use this. I don't know where there are buds. I'm going to go back to there and see if it buds back. And then that can be bent, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I don't know why I left that there. That's coming off. This is getting a little shorter. Okay. So this is alive. There's a nice bud there. That. This one, pretty sure it's going to bud from there. Or I can go out a little bit farther. Theory? What do you think? Yeah, I think so too. This one goes back to here. This one gets cut. Here's another big. Pretty sure that's got buds back there. I see a bud right there. So we're going to go there. That's the top. All right, let's see what it looks like. Sad. Oh, okay, here's our front. So that's our tree. But believe me, it still looks better than it did before, in my opinion, because it was beyond help. So we've tried to help it somewhat. So now we're going to look at the roots. I need the big cutters again. So as we look at the bottom of this, and I did a lot of cutting, so I want it to be fairly flat. I'm going to cut it a little bit more. So Renee, if you could help me cut that right there, if we can get
If we can cut that.
If we can get a grip on it, I think we can. See, we got it. Oops. And right there. Ooh, nice. Okay. Then, yeah, I know. So let's start on this side. It's coming from.
What is that? Is that a root or is that a gall?
I don't know. But you can. This goes all the way through. Yeah. You can go there. So this whole thing can come off. And there's going to be roots. These things root out from the base of this. It's almost guaranteed. So I can even cut it a little flatter. Okay, and then this one, there's roots back here. And this is still way, way out. So I need this at an angle like that. And then I'm going to cut that. If I don't go back, this is going to just continue to be this long root with nothing behind it. So I think I need to go even farther. So across on the other side, our other problem It's this interesting root that was a wraparound with a big curve. So, and this one, same thing. There's nothing there. So we might as well, it's never going to amount to anything. Let's just cut this flat flush so the roots will grow out of that. Actually, there are roots, I think, under there. But for now, I'm going to leave it that way. What do you think? Should we go farther back?
This one?
See, that's our height now.
And this one?
No, I meant underneath.
Oh, I think we can go back farther underneath.
I think so too. Because we're looking at the height of this. And this is pretty tall. What we want for our soil line and our root line is to be about like that, all the way around. Our root line goes across here. Should we cut this off now?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's cut this off.
Let's cut this off now.
Like,
This is
oh, please cut this root off. I'm begging you. Okay, I know. It's kind of scary though, because that's your flare, and now suddenly your flare. But here is our root. This is what we had. Not too good. So we need to go back a little farther on this. And again, these heal really quickly. So what have we got to lose, right? Okay.
Crossing.
This? Yeah, I know. You have to decide if you want to fix everything all at once, or if you want it to live here. But we definitely are still too high from the base to here. This needs to be brought down. So we are going to turn it upside down and do some more work. Like that, yeah. Oops. And we can be brave like this because our sensei a couple of weeks ago did this and worse, and much worse, to one of Renee's big trident maples that needed almost as much help as this, almost. And he said, put it in a pot and leave it for 3 to 4 years, and it will grow, grow, grow. So that's what we're trying. How flat we are now. That's better. Front. Front? Front. Okay, front. I think we should cut this off too. There's really not doing anything.
I think we should just cut this one off too.
Why not?
It's just not going to do anything there. You'll have to thread graft anyway, so.
What about this knob? I think cut that also. Is it?
Yeah, it's kind of ugly.
It's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the feel? Okay. Well, that makes quite a concave cut all by itself. Okay, so the knob is gone. Still a hump, but we'll see what happens. This is our other. We need to cut that. That's the front. We have a crossing branch trunk right here. All right. Next step. We're not done yet. We're going to do a few root grafts to fill up these holes. My biggest problem area, I'm going to mark it with a Sharpie, is this. I don't know how deep that hole goes, but it's like it goes all the way through from there to there. So if I put one there, I'm going to put one, maybe I can get two. Maybe I can put one here and one here, and they can kind of meet in the middle. Because this goes straight down, So this is probably going to have to be cut off. So I have to replace it with something. And this kind of does the same thing. So we're going to do there and there. Okay, that's 3. So keep turning it. We have another, I have little roots here. I can wait another year, or I can cut these off and put one. I have to make sure they don't cross. Because I tried to put one, well, I could just put one right there. Because I know that should be okay, and I need one there anyway. And we'll see what happens with this over a couple of years, because at least there are roots there. All right, I'm going around this way. I'm not so worried about this. I've just made it like, let this grow. Except for that knob. I'm just going to let that grow. Okay, keep turning. These are okay. I'll just deal with that. This is okay. And we'll see what happens with that area also, because there's a lot of roots underneath. All right, so they're there and there. What a change to this trident maple. It's pretty much been taken down to half of what it was, and the branches almost all the way back. We showed you the roots that we cut off a lot of those. I have made 1, 2, 3, 4 root grafts, which is just a start. But we'll see what happens. This all needs to grow out anyway, but at least we have everything cut back. So now we have where we want the roots, and it's down below this level. I'm going to put sphagnum moss across this to keep this all damp. I sealed the one that's coming up above so that air doesn't get into that or water. I still need to seal these little guys that I cut, but that's what it looks like, and I'm hoping it's on the road to a better future from the front. Okay, and then the next one, this is our third trident maple, and we liked really wide base, and it's just a fascinating shape, so we thought this could be pretty interesting. Lots of small internodes, but these are placed badly, but we've got lots of little buds and nice internodes, and it is weak. And we decided this is going to be the apex, because it's coming right up here, which means this has to come completely off. So we're going to have to do some thread grafts through there. So I'm going to mark the apex, because that decides where everything goes. So that gets cut off. These are all going to get cut off, and we're going to rebuild it. It's going to take time. This is really ugly. This is going to be rebuilt, so we'll see over time. But for now, this can all be cut back. Our problem, and here it is, this is what the roots look like. It's like an octopus, isn't it? It's like a creature from the deep. It's very kind of cool, but this is not what we want in a bonsai. It's almost like you've got eyes right there. So if I lift it up, it lays flat, and there's all of this going straight down underneath. So we've kind of decided on a solution to not kill the tree, to leave this stuff coming straight down, but we're going to cut all of these. We're going to cut that one off too. Decide where our root line is going to be, and then we're going to start doing thread grafts through here. I don't know how many years this is going to take. And then our other thing is to heal this huge wound. So to do that, we have to let this grow. So we're probably going to lose a lot of this ramification, and all of this stuff is probably going to disappear, but we really have no choice. Any other thoughts, Renee? No.
It's definitely a project
This
tree.
is a project tree.
Yes, you can learn a lot from this tree. Fun with this one. Yes,
so that's going to be our plan, to leave the base so it gets fed, but then work on the rest of it. So we'll show you it as we go along in stages. You don't get to see the down and dirty because I don't know what this is going to entail.
Thread grafting?
Thread grafting and cutting.
Thread grafting, yep.
Well, should we cut while we're here?
Yeah, you can go ahead and cut them off.
Oh my God. Okay.
Cut them off, Carmen.
Hold on. So I want to go like this. Yes. I like that.
Cut it all the way back.
All the way. I mean, we were talking.
Well, I was gonna.
You were going to go all the way. Let's see. The cautious cut. It's there.
Cautious cut. If you think we can use that, we can leave it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it for now because it's not, our line is going to go across like that.
Right there. Yeah, our line's going to come around.
So what do I do with this one? I almost need to saw that one off. Is this going to go all the way back or should we just go, is it solved all time or do we just cut it back? We just cut it back. Good. Oh, yeah, because we're going to show you. This is what we're going to get. It will sprout from wherever we cut it and we will get roots.
Mm-hmm.
But look at this. Yikes. So we might as well cut it
way back.
Way back.
Saw it. Or cut it. Cut it or saw it.
All right, let's finish this. It's almost through. You have to tilt it a little bit. All right, we're almost there. Ta-da! Made it look easier than it was. All right. It's got his one leg over there. So let me get, right? There we go.
Can you tell me why you're not cutting it short?
Why aren't I cutting it shorter? Well, I can put thread grafts through this.
I'm probably going to put thread grafts all the way around here anyway.
And I can do one out of here. So if we get roots out of here, and we can always go back and go, this is dead right there. Okay. Are we taking this one off? Yes.
Well, not yet.
Okay.
Those are the ones we're going to leave. Keep the tree alive.
Okay.
I think we were going to take that one off. Yeah.
This one?
That big thing. Yeah. That one we were going to take off.
Because this is what we have. It has no roots. This one I can just go for it. Are there roots underneath?
No. Well, there's
that.
To the side, but not underneath.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a wraparound root.
Where is that coming from? Are we cutting this off or are we going to leave it?
Well, I was going to leave these ones. I thought maybe we'd leave these ones down here.
Okay.
To keep, to sustain the tree while we do all the thread grafting.
All right. I think that's better.
That's better.
All right.
Okay.
Now this one, that one should be pretty easy.
That one for sure goes, yeah.
I had no idea I was going to do this when I started this. This have to be careful. Around here is where the roots are going to come out. Everything under there is just to keep it alive. We're going to start doing root grafts. And I have a whole lot of whips. So we might as well do it now and see how far we can get. And then continue doing it for however many years it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, hopefully, once this is a little bit more established, we can work more on this. All right.
Okay.
Oh. This was our crazy. Is this the front? No, front's over there. Oh, but okay. We cut off all the roots, but we left hopefully enough to keep it alive. And at the same time, these are where they're coming out. So those are all out. So we've sealed them, so nothing gets into that. But we're going to do half and half. So we've started with this side. We have 5 root grafts going in through there. And then it's going to go into the pot, and it's going to go up to about there. Same thing. You have to have sphagnum moss on that to keep these wet and happy. And I think they should all grow, and then we'll have the whole entire back of it done. then the next year or 2 years from now, we will do the other side. Nothing was done up here. We're going to wait until May, see what's happening, and maybe it's strong enough that we can start working on this and cut this back. But all of this is going to help this heal and this heal. So we'll revisit it then. All right. All right. We've potted this up. This is our third tree. We've decided to nickname it Challenger because it seems appropriate. Yes. So we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thread grafts because we have to completely replace the roots. This is still the front. I'm going to move it around. This is the back. So this is where the roots, the new roots are that are going to grow. So we've done this side, and in maybe 2 years, we're going to revisit it and do the other side. We figured that's the best way to do it because we can't crisscross and run into each other, so it's easier just to do it over time. We've decided to leave all of these whips on because with all the stuff we've done, we need it to get stronger, and I think it's going to be fine. But to heal it, to get it going, just to make sure everything's set, we're going to let these grow at least till May and then revisit it. What?
The wound.
My wound? No.
Yeah.
We are also going to do this wound in May because it's better if it's actively growing, and in May everything's hardened off, so it's not, the sap isn't flowing as strongly, and we should be able to do that without bleeding. So May for wound healing. This is tree number 4, and we have done absolutely nothing with it. So if you want a nice bonsai and you don't feel like going through the agony that we went through with these roots, you have to spend a lot of money. You pay for this development. So she is going to repot it still. She hasn't done it, so we're not going to take a picture yet. Nothing happens until it's time to defoliate in May, and no fertilizer until May. The others are all going to be getting fertilizer in February. So our next step will be, we'll revisit these on February, see if anything's popping out, and talk about some other things that we do just in general for bonsai care. These are my 2 favorite, either Dr. Earth, the root tone, I guess it's a tone, or it looks like love, tone, and then, or the biotone, and it has mycorrhiza in it. True biotic inside. It has beneficial soil microbes. So I'm going to sprinkle that on the top of these, and then pretty quickly I'm going to start throwing fertilizer on these because I really want them to grow. This we're not touching, and that's because it doesn't need to get a huge push. It's going to come out on its own. It's mid-February, and we mentioned that we were going to repot Renee's tree, and we have done that. And this is the new pot. We took some pictures really quick when we did the repotting, so I want to show you those and talk about how this repotting varies from a younger, less developed tree. Here's our first picture of the tree. We've already pulled it out of the pot. We've trimmed all the roots back. It was full of roots. There were a lot of roots. So we've cut it back to this. What's important to note is that this angle comes down, and it's a gentle angle that comes down and out. If you have flat roots that are going out here, it's going to show up out through the pot to the edge, and it's distracting. It really doesn't look good. And this will continue to grow out and fill up with root. So you don't have to worry about where you're at. It's an over time, it'll keep going out. So we do that, and you can see how dense everything is, all the roots. You don't scrape it, you can scrape it back way back here. You don't want to do that. You want to leave this circle of small roots that's finished. Don't touch those. Then out here, it's all trimmed back nicely. And we've got a nice continual line there. The base is flat, and that's will keep it stable. By this time, it should be flat to go into a pot. You shouldn't have big things hanging down here. It'll look like that. Okay, then to see the bottom of it, totally flat. You don't see any big roots here. It's all very, very fine. Any of the bigger roots, you can feel them with your hands. Those have been cut off. This is the base of the trunk. And the way these form, these keep growing and they can kind of bulge out. They've been cut back with a root cutter to be somewhat concave so that it sits flatly. And you can see how nice that edge is. And all the roots are very fine. Let's talk about the effect of repotting this developed tree into a nicer pot. This pot is a glazed cream oval, shallow, much more shallower than the growing pot, which is usually deeper. And think of this as a frame for this tree. And why this works is the shape is a kind of a feminine tree, but this is upright, so this is a little bit simpler. And then the color going up to the green leaves, this will complement, the white color will complement the green leaves, and especially in the fall when this turns orange-red, the difference between the two will really make it look striking. And that's why we've chosen this light cream. I also want to talk about the one problem with this tree, and there's always going to be a problem, is this area right here. And Renee's going to explain the process of creating that.
Just
Okay.
you all may have noticed this kind of ugly chopped off thick branch here and wondering what in the heck that's doing there. I wanted to explain what's going on. When I first started developing this tree, there was no branch here. And as I was working on it, a bud came out and I thought, aha, that's a great place for another branch. But it's low on the tree, and being the primary branch, this has to be the thickest branch on the tree. So in order to develop a branch here, I just had to let this run and get thick and grow. So there was a runner coming out that I left there for several years to thicken this part. So I let it grow out. I cut it back to here. I let it grow out again. I got this part is starting to develop nicely. I'm getting some nice fine ramification. This part is not quite so well developed, so I had to let this run again and cut it off. I cut this off in the fall, and you can see that there's some buds popping out back here lower on this branch. So as these grow, I'm going to cut this back again and start developing some more refined growth on this branch, just to complement the tree.
We've got a couple more things to do to set this tree up for the rest of the spring. I always add this organic. I talked about it before. So here it is. And we're just going to sprinkle it around the tree. And it's kind of nice to work it in a little bit because it will wash off somewhat. So that's it. We're going to do that. And it'll wash in pretty quickly. The last thing we're going to do, this is a New Zealand sphagnum moss. You can also use regular sphagnum moss. The nice thing about this is the texture of it, and it's clean, but it's in really long strands. So what we like to do is grate it. So you put it on top of one of your sifters, and I've used this size, and then you simply scrape it across there like that. If you leave this on there, it gets really funky and it's too thick. And then, as people said, birds love this stuff for making nests. Could you imagine a beautiful nest made out of this? The happy baby birds. This is what we end up with. And it's nice and fine. So you put it on, not very thick, so we're going to put it on this tree with Renee's help. and it's going to make a mess. And all this does, it keeps this top moist a little bit longer because this will dry out so fast, and this pot is shallow, so we really need a layer to hold a little bit of moisture. We have our layer on here. It blows away very easily. So the first time you water it, it's kind of nice to very lightly, see, and you can see it moving, spray it on, and it'll settle down and start sticking to the soil. So this first, and then put it on your shelf, and it's ready to grow. One more thing, we like to use a spray before the leaves come out, a dormant spray that will help with early insects and diseases. It's kind of a preventative. So a dormant spray after your leaves come off in November or whenever they come off, and then again right before the leaves come out. It can be very helpful to do a dormant spray. And I think that's it. We will see you next month. It's a wrap. You say it afterwards? Wait, do it again.
No, you say it's a wrap first.
Okay.
You say it's a wrap.
Okay. It's a wrap.